Hey guys, Mark Meckler, president of Convention Estates Action here for this Sunday night BattleCry. It's been an incredible week. Lots of news, as always. I think I mentioned last week that every week, every day, every hour is a black swan event, right? If something radical happens minute by minute, there's so much this week I can't even talk about it. The Israelis took out two super high value targets, including Ismail Haniyeh, the head of Hamas. May God not rest his soul. In fact, I'm pretty sure he's burning somewhere else for a very long period of time. That was incredible. They took out a high-level IRGC, Iranian Revolutionary Guard leader, the guy that's in charge of all their aerospace activities. In other words, rockets that they launch at Israel. This is just amazing news. I'm not even going to go into that stuff because there's too much other stuff going on. It's every day, every minute, more news. But I'm going to start with something which is our weekly call to action. There's always something I want you to do. And sometimes it's not do something like you have to go out somewhere and do something. You have to physically engage in activity. Sometimes it's about controlling our attitudes. It's about how to reset ourselves mentally, things that I do every day for myself. Sometimes it actually is a call to physical action. And in this case, it is a call to physical action. And what I'm saying today, I'm telling you, you got to do, don't take anything for granted. Go out and volunteer for a campaign. Like now, today, as soon as this is over, go online, volunteer for a campaign. If you have somebody who's running for Senate in a close race you think is important, go volunteer for that. Go online, sign up. The statistics show us almost nobody does this. Literally, the vast majority of people are not involved in elections any other way other than voting. And it's really important that you vote. Yes, absolutely. But actually getting in the fight and being involved is really important. So go out, sign up for a campaign, get involved, make the phone calls, knock on the doors, lick the envelopes, whatever it takes to help the candidate of your choice win this election. There's a lot at stake. People always say it's the most important election of our lifetimes. It's the most important election of our lifetime. So get on it, get with it, and get involved in a campaign today. And write to me next week, conventionofstates.com/askmark. And tell me about getting involved in a campaign. I want to hear that you actually went out and did this thing. And I'm going to start this week with something that should be headline news every single day from 3 weeks ago for a very long time to come, but it's not, which is weird. And that is the Trump assassination attempt. I don't know if you're continuing to follow this. Clearly, it's been memory holed by the mainstream media. More and more video footage coming out showing the shooter running across the roof. It's not like he just belly crawled up there, running across the roof. People actually got video of this stuff. Extraordinarily, what do we know about him? Anybody? Hardly anything. It appears that the FBI is withholding evidence from us, which is in and of itself truly extraordinary. It appears that the FBI is manipulating evidence, which I'm not surprised by. They tried to paint him as sort of some right-wing white supremacist. I don't know exactly what, but definitely right-wing guy. And the head of Gab came out and said that's not what his account said. He's clearly a radical left-winger. So we're getting quote unquote misinformation, disinformation, just call them what they are, lies from the FBI, from the Secret Service. I don't know what's going on. The more you see this kind of stuff, the more you have to, if you're intelligent, if you're a thinking person, lean towards a conspiracy. In other words, was it actually a government conspiracy, a security agency conspiracy to kill Trump? I think that's a question you have to ask yourself. Right now, my opinion is still no. I think it looks like a conspiracy, smells like a conspiracy, walks and quacks like a duck. But I think that's because there is a conspiracy to cover up incredibly gross incompetence. Here's just one layer I want you to look at. We had Kim Cheadle, the director of the Secret Service, step down. You know who took over for her? A guy by the name of Ron Rowe Jr. You know who Ron Rowe Jr. is? He was the second in command at the Secret Service. You know why that's relevant? He was in charge of the security that day. He's in charge specifically, personally, of all protective detail security. So now we have the guy that was in charge of this incredibly gross failure tasked with doing the investigation on that gross failure, or whatever you want to call it, right? So that is a cover-up. That's the definition of a cover-up. He's not going to point at himself. He's not going to point at his close associates. He's going to try and manipulate the information. We're seeing that going on. We all know when we're being lied to. We're being lied to. So it feels like we're being lied to. But I want to say, don't necessarily take the next step that, oh, well, the government tried to kill Trump. And the reason I say that is because, frankly, they're pretty good at killing people. And if they had wanted to kill him, they wouldn't have had some 20-year-old kid with an AR. They would have used something a lot more serious than that. They would have had somebody who knows exactly how to place that shot. You have people, oh, it's a head shot. If you're trying to kill somebody in an assassination attempt like that, more likely, especially if you wanted to look not suspicious, you would use a 30-06 hunting rifle with a nice scope on it, like the kind of thing you'd go out and take out a big deer. And you do it center mass, right? A headshot is a hard shot to make, just like you saw, just a slight twitch, and that shot can miss. So I don't really think this is a government conspiracy to kill Trump. I think it was a desire. They don't care about Trump at all. They're not willing or worried about providing protection for Trump. The Secret Service is stretched thin. A lot of Secret Service agents are on the border processing migrants to make sure that plenty of illegals can get into the country to sell fentanyl, commit rape, murder, and mayhem. They're busy doing that at the behest of the administration. And so I think they're undermanned, and I think they are overstressed. There were more events than normal that day. Joe Biden had her own event in Philadelphia that day. And definitely we know that Ron Rowe actually pulled people off of Trump's protection team to move them over to Joe Biden's protection team. So we know what's going on. We know it's a mess. We know it's totally incompetent. And I do believe that there is a conspiracy in the cover up, not necessarily in the attempt on Trump's life right now. That doesn't look likely to me. So that's the latest and greatest, or whatever you want to call it, on the Trump assassination attempt. Second, I want to go to something that is related, because really, after you have this series of incidents that take place, you have the debate where Joe Biden basically dies on stage and crawls off after the end, never to be resurrected. Then you have Kamala Harris. There's a complete and total coup to put her in. By the way, I think that coup was now completed this week. She was actually, quote unquote, officially nominated by delegates at the DNC, even though we haven't had the convention yet. Officially nominated. Not one human being voted for her. Not one. Nobody in the country. She wasn't on any primary ballot. They actually just committed a coup. Like, this is unbelievable that you would have a major party presidential candidate for which not one vote was cast, and they are now the anointed candidate of the party. And that's the situation we have with Kamala Harris. Okay, so she's now the candidate, and she's received a big bump in the polls. Kamala Harris gets the bump because, well, why would you think she got the bump? Anybody? She got the bump because they had a candidate who was basically brain dead, that a candidate who had collapsed on the stage basically during the debate. Everybody knew. Everybody in the country knew that he had dementia. Everybody in the country didn't want him to run. I should say all the Democrats didn't want him to run. So when he gets replaced and you have a new candidate, of course you're going to have an enthusiasm bump. So I'm not surprised by that. I think this is really important that you don't panic. I see this all the time. Oh my God. I mean, I heard Joe Rogan say, oh, I think Kamala's going to win now. And he had Michael Malice on as a guest, and Malice didn't believe she was going to win. It's possible. Anything's possible. I think it's possible. And I think it's even plausible that she could win. I don't think this is going to be easy, but don't panic. Like, the cycle of politics is going to ebb and flow. I don't know how many times, dozens, hundreds of times between here and November. And if you get worked up every time that it ebbs or flows, and you're not going to have the energy to do the first thing I told you, which is to get out and work for the candidates, and you're just going to be burnt out and exhausted and depressed from all this stuff. So don't do it. Like, you should be like that little proverbial leaf on the stream, just bobs along on the top of the current, right? Just ride the current nice and smooth along the top of the water. That's what you need to do when you're engaged in politics. It's a topsy-turvy world, and I don't want you to be topsy-turvy inside. It's not good for you. It's not good for any of us. It's not even good for the Trump campaign. This is where it gets serious, though. I think this is where the rubber meets the road. The Trump campaign is going to have to be incredibly disciplined to beat Kamala Harris. I mean, honestly, to beat Joe Biden, They just needed to show up, right? They just needed to walk in the room. They just needed to smile and say a few platitudes, really just point at Joe Biden. But the same is not going to be true for Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris, much as you may not like it, is a new commodity. I know she's been around. I know those of us who follow politics all know who she is. I can tell you a lot of voters, maybe the majority of voters, don't even know who Kamala Harris is. So they have a chance to redefine Kamala Harris. What that means is Trump has to redefine Kamala Harris. And Trump and his campaign are not going to effectively redefine Kamala Harris by saying, oh, I thought she was Indian and now she's black. Yeah, people don't care about that stuff. That's just noise. And in an environment that's really noisy, which is what politics is, that's just more noise and name calling. There's a lot of stuff to hit Kamala Harris on. Most voters, when they get to know her, don't like her. See, they don't like gender ideology. They don't like all the alphabet soup stuff. They don't like porn in our kids' libraries. They don't like high taxes. They don't like high government regulation. They don't like involvement in foreign wars. And they don't like Kamala's cackling laugh. And so, if those things get presented, the laugh left out of that, she'll do that herself. But if the real issues get presented, the economics of it, the foreign policy of it, the gender ideology of it, the racism of it, the reality behind the policies, so people can see who Kamala Harris is and what she stands for, Trump's going to win in a blowout. But if he focuses on the politics of personality, just nitpicking on her personality and making fun of her and all that stuff, look, it might make you feel good. It's definitely legit. I'm not saying it's not legit. I'm just saying as a campaign strategy, it's not going to work. And Trump and his surrogates and his campaign have to get laser focused on the issues. He wins on the issues. He makes her the issue. He makes her the issue by tying her to all her horrible policies. I don't know if you've noticed, she's running away from all of those policies. She's anti-fracking. She now says she's not anti-fracking. And you're going to see her flip on every single issue. She's doing that. She's not saying the words. She's doing it through surrogates. Have you noticed not a single interview of Kamala Harris? Not even a friendly interview. Donald Trump appeared at the National Association of Black Journalists. Kamala Harris didn't appear. You know why? It's not because she was worried about hostile questions. She wasn't going to get a single hostile question, and she's not going to get any hostile questions from the mainstream media. It's just she literally can't even handle stringing a couple sentences together, even in a friendly situation. She gets abused. She gets mocked. She goes into these weird word salad circles that make great sound bites. And so she doesn't want to do those things. So she's not going to do any interviews. I would argue she won't do any interviews until after the convention. And now we're pushing pretty close to the election. And that gives her a chance to hide for the most part, scoot in under the wire and win the presidency, which would be disastrous for the United States of America. That brings us up again to the top, full circle. You need to volunteer for a campaign. All right? Like now, do it. Write to me, conventionofstates.com/ask Mark. Let me know you volunteered. I want to hear that for next week. Okay, this is one I really don't want to talk about. Sometimes I talk about things I don't want to talk about because I just got to talk about them. And this week, that's the Olympics. I don't normally watch the Olympics. I don't find the Olympics interesting. I find them way too much pomp and circumstance. I think they put a bunch of stupid sports into them that don't make any sense to me. And I'm just not interested. I just don't find them that exciting. I think they're a big international kumbaya in which a bunch of terrible regimes send athletes to act like they're free countries when they're not. It's a big charade. So I don't normally watch. But this week, I was compelled to watch at least part of it. I did watch the slices of the opening ceremonies where they defamed Christ, where they blasphemed, where they attacked the artifice, the beautiful painting, the first or the Last Supper, and then they tried to pretend that they didn't. They said it was Dionysus or something else, but then the artist who did it said it was the Last Supper. Look, this is where our culture has gotten to. It is this degraded. You don't see them attacking Muhammad, right? You never. Well, there's a reason. You know, they tried that in Paris with the Charlie Hebdo publication that had a contest for cartoons about Muhammad, and they all got slaughtered in their offices. Remember that? Remember that France didn't really seriously do anything about that afterwards. It just became more and more dangerous to be a Jew in France. That's how it is now. France has become an entirely anti-Semitic country. It's very dangerous. The lead rabbi in France told Jews to leave France because it's too dangerous and they're not protected by their government. And so this is what we see in this blasphemy on display. And I'm not one who gets easily offended, and I'm not personally offended, and I didn't watch it in real time. I'm only offended in the sense that this is where our society, the Western world, has come to. Our heritage, whether you're a believer or not, is Judeo-Christian heritage. And yet the thing that flies, the thing that they think is awesome and cutting edge, is attacking Judeo-Christian values. That's where we're at. So, look, they got a lot of heat for it. I think that's good. I'm not watching a single moment of the Olympics. I might have watched a couple of things. I'm not going to watch a single moment based on that disgusting blasphemy. I'm just not interested. And again, it's not even a religious thing. They're attacking Western civilization. These people are self-loathing, self-hating idiots that are going to end up under the rule of radical Islam if they don't wake up. And I think the chances of them waking up is pretty slim. Hopefully a little bit better chance for the United States, but I am worried about us as well. One last thing about the Olympics. Again, I'm watching news about the Olympics, not the Olympics. You probably caught the news where somebody with an XY chromosome set, in other words, a man. Yeah, that's what that means. Beat the heck out of a woman from Italy who was there living out her Olympic dreams, took 2 punches in the face. She said were so hard, they were like nothing she's ever felt, and she had to quit. And so now we have the final round of the Olympics is between 2 men in the women's boxing matches. Now, first of all, I got to say, I'm opposed to women's boxing. Yeah, I don't really want to see 2 women punching each other in the face. I don't think that's good for women. I don't think it's good for our society. That's women trying to be men. Women don't have that same level of natural aggression. Boxing is a stand-in for war, essentially, pugilism, beating the heck out of somebody else. That's not something, in my opinion, that normal women do. But if they're going to have boxing in the Olympics, it should be for women. It should be women versus women. And instead, you have a woman or women versus men and 2 men in the finals. And turns out, once again, in all things sport, the best women are men. Shouldn't be that way. All right, moving on to the topic of happiness, which is an important topic. You should be happy. You should want to be happy. I don't think it's the highest value. I think the highest value is purpose, like going out and having purpose in your life. That leads to happiness, in my opinion, taking care of other people, serving other people. But if you are seeking happiness, there's an entire new book out. A professor wrote a book about happiness. You're going to be so surprised to hear about this book because you probably couldn't guess any of this. No, you absolutely would guess every bit of it. If you get married, if you have kids, if you join a church, and if you do all the things that human beings have done to achieve happiness over thousands of years, that means you are much more likely to be happy. Wait for that. Yes, you're so surprised by that result. Married people and married people with kids are much happier than unmarried people or married people without kids. Those are the facts. Those are the statistics. They're consistent across all demographics. This is not a surprise. It's amazing somebody has to study and write a book about it because you already know all of that. You didn't even have to write a book about it. So encourage your kids, do the revolutionary thing, do the radical thing, do the not cool thing. Start looking for a spouse. Find a good one. Get married, join a church, have kids, and have a good life. That's what we wish for you. All right. This week, we had another just bizarre kind of Biden, Kamala in the news thing. Now, I want to start by saying, I'm going to say some negative stuff about this, but overall, I'm glad it happened. There was a prisoner swap that took place. We got some prisoners home from Russia, a couple of journalists. This is really important. It's a big breakthrough. Should have been done a long time ago. We got 3 prisoners back from Russia. 2 of them were taken on Biden-Harris's watch. They got them all back. They came in late last night into the United States. Biden and Harris were on the tarmac. I think it was around 1 a.m. And so because Joe Biden can't say anything, and you could literally tell this, he's standing there in sort of a vegetative state, just staring blindly because he can't say anything. Kamala Harris, the vice president, is forced to say something. And when Kamala Harris is forced to speak off script, as always, it's word salad. Producer G, run that. I'll let you judge for yourself.
This is just an extraordinary testament to the importance of having a president who understands the power of diplomacy and understands the strength that rests in understanding the significance of diplomacy and strengthening alliances. This is an incredible day.
I don't even know what to say. Like, that seems fake. That seems like a comedy routine. Does she have to practice that? The power of understanding, the strength that comes from diplomacy, the significance of the power of the strength of diplomacy, of the significance of the strength of the power of. I don't know how she does that. It literally, the way she does it, it seems like she's faking it. It's like she's trying to come across as a moron. Whether she's trying or not, she definitely comes across as a moron. That's absolutely word salad, stupid stuff. Okay, so that was really bad, and she can't help herself. And this is part of the reason you're not going to see Kamala Harris in an interview, because when she speaks, that's what she does. When she's off script at all, when she's interviewed, that's what she does. She's incapable, literally incapable of thinking on her feet. Now, she's also got a partner in the president of the United States who is supposed to be in charge, who literally is barely on his feet, clearly incoherent. And you know how he tends to wander off, right? I mean, this is a real thing, like most dementia patients, or a lot of dementia patients, if they're still ambulatory. Last night on the tarmac, he actually just completely wandered off. Take a look at this. Not only is he wandering out, look, no Secret Service is doing anything. They have no idea what's going on. They have a Secret Service walking up behind Kamala, looking at the president like, where is he going? That's not Air Force One. That's not his plane. He's not supposed to be getting on the plane. Notice all the Secret Service slowly walking up, wondering, okay, what should we do now? Look, Kamala's looking up there and waiting for him. Nobody knows what to do, because nobody knows why he just went up and got on a random plane that's not his plane, and he's just gone. Okay, look at Kamala Harris looking around uncomfortably, like, hey, should we go get Joe? The Secret Service is there. They're looking around, looking at the door. I mean, you think somebody would run up after him at this point? He has literally just wandered off the scene, up the stairs, into this plane, and he's gone. And he's still gone. Look how long this is lasting. He's still gone. Now, by the way, just so you know, there's nobody on that plane. Like, he didn't go on that plane to greet somebody who was coming off the plane or something like that. I don't know. Maybe he went to the restroom. He went to relieve himself. I got the dogs back here. What do you think? Levi? Winston? You have any idea where the president went? Clearly, none of them know where the president went. Eventually, he comes down the stairs and comes off the plane. But oh, look, we're still watching. Has he come off the plane yet? He's still, nope, he's not off the plane. Isn't it? And look how awkwardly everybody's looking at the plane. Now you have a Secret Service guy that came down to the bottom of the stairs who's just waiting. More people are starting to move over towards the plane and wondering where Joe Biden might be. Oh, look, here he comes. Here he comes. Look, he waves a little bit, hand up at somebody, a little hand gesture, coming down the stairs. Hi, Mr. President, did you take a nice leak while you're on that plane? Walks over, look, he takes Kamala's hands like your grandpa, your old elderly grandpa would take hands. Nice to see you. I mean, he's out of his mind. So that would be funny if it weren't so terrifying. We live in a scary world. The Middle East is on fire. Russia is aggressive. There's hostage swaps going on. Who made the decision to do that hostage swap? Do you think that guy made the decision to do the hostage swap? Because I don't believe he's cogent enough to even know why he got on that airplane or what he was doing up there or why he came on. He doesn't know anything. And yet we just did a major international hostage swap. I'll probably look into the details of the swap next week. I don't know all the details right now. I haven't dug into that. I'm always glad when American hostages come home. I just want it done in a way that benefits the United States of America at large and doesn't encourage more hostage taking, which oftentimes these swaps encourage other nations to take more American hostages. Now, speaking of weird things done by the Biden administration, because it seems like there's no end to that, this week, the 9/11 terrorists who are held at Guantanamo Bay The leaders, the people who took down the towers, who killed over 3,000 Americans, got a plea deal. A plea deal. A pretty sweet plea deal, too, because it took the death penalty off the table. Right now, this is an incredible thing. These people killed over 3,000 Americans. The reaction from victims' families was swift and furious. They felt betrayed by the Biden administration, betrayed by Kamala Harris. And at this point, I just have to say you got to put 100% of whatever the Biden administration does on Kamala Harris, because we know Joe Biden is completely incoherent. We know he's out of it. We saw it in that video. So you literally have them letting these terrorists off the hook, not giving them the death penalty, not sending them straight to hell where they belong 20 plus years later, because, hey, look, Kamala Harris never met a terrorist she didn't like. And that's what we're witnessing here. I hate to be so harsh, but I am outraged by this. I'm old enough to remember 9/11. The fact that these guys aren't going to get the death penalty is absolutely unbelievable. Who we should find out who's responsible for that. I'll tell you who's responsible for that. It's not Joe Biden, it's Kamala Harris. It's one of those things that Donald Trump needs to pin on her. Hey, coming up next week, I'm going to be on the road. I will be in Kentucky Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday for the National Conference of State Legislators. These are legislators of both parties that come in from all over the country. They're gathering in Lexington, Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky. We're going to be there at that conference talking to legislators about Convention of States. It's a great chance to share our new polling with them. The polling indicates that in Ohio, 61%, and in Pennsylvania, over 70% of folks, of state legislators, people voting in state legislative elections would be willing to cross party lines to vote for somebody who supports Convention of States. Those are incredible numbers. Democrats willing to cross party lines to vote for Republicans who support the idea of calling a Convention of States. So we're going to go to the NCSL and we're going to talk to legislators from all across the country about that. I'm excited about that. I'll be there. Mike Ferris will be there. Rick Santorum will be there. Rita Peters will be there. A couple of our regional directors will be there. My wife, Patty, who has raised the money for the organization, she'll be there. We got a new booth for the event. It's going to be really cool. I would tell you to come, but unless you're a state legislator, you probably find it boring. All right. In personal news, for those of you who might have been following, yes, indeed, I am a grandpa. I'm super excited. Of course, we've been waiting for a while, like 9 months for this. And there is a new baby girl in the house. We're super excited to say is my daughter and son-in-law had a new baby girl last week on the 29th. And so Patty and I are first-time grandparents. I know a lot of you have been grandparents before, so I'll allow you to welcome me to the club. Best club I've ever been a part of. I'm super excited about it. We're spending as much time with her as we possibly can until we hit the road again next week. All right, a couple of things I want to promote before we get to Q&A. Don't forget to register for biblical citizenship. Join me and Rick Green. Go to patriotacademy.com/COS. That's patriotacademy.com/COS. That is on Monday evenings at 8 p.m., 7 p.m. Central. We give a little bit of a opening, then we play our video. I think we're on lesson 4 at this point. A lot of that's going to be coming from Independence Hall in Philadelphia. Incredible stuff. If you want to learn how to be a biblical citizen, join us by going to patriotacademy.com/COS. And then don't forget to sign up for Patriot Mobile. Go to patriotmobile.com at patriotmobile.com/COS Patriot. Promo code COS Patriot. That'll give you free activation because you want to give your money for your cell phone to people who share your values, not people who hate you. Again, that is patriotmobile.com/COS Patriot. Use promo code COS Patriot. All right, Ask Mark anything. You can submit your questions at conventionofstates.com/Ask Mark. We're going to start with Ed Black. He says, a while ago, Heritage Foundation put their support behind COSA. They also have their Project 2025 effort with over 100 organizations on the advisory board. Has there been consideration of COSA joining forces with groups such as Project 2025 to grow our base of support? And the answer is yes, and we have. And I've been in touch with Project 2025 recently. There's some controversy around it. I think it's ridiculous. I can't say that I've read all of it, by the way, because it's 900 pages. But it's just mostly good conservative policy prescriptions. This is what these kinds of organizations like Heritage do. They write giant white papers about things they think should happen. But we do work with Heritage, and we appreciate those guys over there. Kevin Roberts has been a good friend to the organization back when he was at Texas Public Policy Foundation and now at Heritage. And so we're definitely partnering with those guys and any other orgs that are interested in fighting for liberty and standing side by side with COS. Eric Kaprisky asks, have you tried to contact and be part of either Sean Ryan's or Joe Rogan's podcast? I'm going to be honest with you, Eric. I feel like I should know who this is because the way you're saying it, but I don't know who Sean Ryan is. So the answer on that one is no. Joe Rogan, yes, many times. Look, the circle of protection around Joe Rogan is so deep. I've never been able to pierce it. I have no idea. If you have some idea how to reach Joe Rogan, you let me know because I'd be happy to be on Joe Rogan's show. And I do know he's here in Austin, so I could literally maybe just walk over to his place. At least drive over. I have no idea. Anyway, love to do it. And if you want to show me who Sean is, you have a contact to Joe, let me know. We'll get on those shows as soon as we can. That's it for the BattleCry this week. I'm going to be on the road for part of the week, but I will see you next Sunday night. God bless you, and we'll see you on the BattleCry.